Welcome. Now, this video is a kind of an introduction if you maybe haven't got started with Deeper, whether you're part of South Oxley Baptist Church or not, you're very welcome to join with us in this series of sessions that look at the Bible, and I hope look at it in a way that encourages you to look at it more deeply for yourself. In Deeper, we're going to look at 10 verses that are key verses in the Bible, and I've chosen them because they are strategic, if you like, in God's plan unfolding throughout the whole Bible. But they're also, I hope, important verses for us, or can become important verses for us, as we respond to God's calling on our own lives and live in the way that He wants us to. So there'll be a variety in these verses. And what I'm going to encourage each of us to do in these sessions, and it goes much beyond the sessions, and in a way Deeper is a course, but in a way I hope it is more than a course, because my experience with most courses is we do them, we gain some things from them, and then we tend to forget what we've learned. I'm hoping that this will be a stepping stone to your engagement with the Bible, whether you've been engaging with the Bible for years, even decades, or whether it's fairly new to you. So, as I say, part of it will be engaging with 10 verses that I've carefully chosen, and both in thinking about them and also praying through them. And I want to see each verse, I want us to look carefully at the content of the verse, understand what the words in the verse say, but also understand it in its setting, and we'd understand the setting as the context of the verse. Usually that's going to be looking at the verses around the one in question, but often to get a wider understanding of the context, we might need to see a bigger picture of where that verse or those verses fit into whatever book it is in the Bible, or the place of the verse in the whole Bible. Sometimes we also need to understand the culture of the time as well, to know what the actual words mean in terms of how they were used, which is sometimes different to how we would use them now. For example, one of the words we use a lot these days is heart. We do things from the heart. Now, we understand we have a physical heart, but there is a way in which we use heart now, which is somewhat different to the way it's used in the Bible, the range of ways it's used in the Bible. So we'll cover that in one of the sessions. So that would be the way we look at the content. The way we look at the context will be partly me giving you some information and partly giving you some things that you can do as well, hopefully to get an appreciation of the context, and also one or two resources that you might want to use to help you in that. Now, as well as looking at these verses, the content and the context, I want to encourage a way of engaging with the Bible. In fact, not just one way. I think we tend to look at the Bible as something that we can read or we can hear. And then some of us, but not many of us, get into doing other things with the Bible. And I want to encourage all of us to use the Bible in at least 6 ways. And I'm going to set out those 6 ways now. And hopefully you will explore these 6 ways as you look through these sessions on Deeper. And the 6 ways are that we might listen to the Bible, we might hear it read, and we might read it ourselves. So we might hear the Bible, we might listen to the Bible, and those will be fairly familiar to most of us, particularly those of us who go to church. But one that I'm not convinced that many people get to is to study the Bible. And what I'm talking about here is not just to look at what somebody else tells you is in there, although that can be a really good thing to do, and I encourage you to continue if you listen to sermons, whether it be in church or you listen online to sermons. That is a great thing to do, but that's not particularly one of the 6 that we're looking at here. I'm encouraging you to study the Bible. That means to do some work yourself, and there'll be 1 or 2 tools that we can use to help us with that. There are many tools available, but one of those I'll come back to in a minute when I've just looked at the 6 ways of looking at the Bible that we're going to look at in deeper. So we've got hear the Bible, read the Bible for ourselves, study the Bible. The next one could be memorize or remember. Maybe let's think in terms of the word memorize. And you're not going to remember great long chunks of the Bible, particularly if you're not used to remembering things in great long chunks. But what I think actually many of us can do better than we think is to remember a particular verse from a Bible or a phrase from the Bible. And we can build our ability to do that. And that's one of the sessions that I'm going to, one of the kind of add-ons I'm going to throw into the deeper sessions to help you. Maybe if you're not very good at remembering things, or if you haven't had much practice remembering this kind of thing, I'm going to give you some additional help in that. It's something that doesn't come easy to me, so I'm a fellow struggler, but I have learnt some things that have really helped me. So hear it, read it, study it, memorize it. And if you manage to memorize a verse from the Bible, it gives you a chance to think about it when you haven't got the text in front of you. And that can be a really great foundation to do the next thing that I'm talking about, and that is meditate. Meditate, not Eastern meditation where you're looking to empty your mind, but meditation in a biblical sense, or a Western sense, in a sense, is fill our minds with something. And in a biblical sense, it's often fill our minds with a phrase or a verse or a little passage of the Bible. And I'll give you an example of that. One of the verses that we'll look at in session 2 is we love because he first loved us. Now the he there is God, but you could remember that verse, we love because he first loved us. And then as you remember that, you could meditate on that. And in a sense, it splits into two parts. We love, you could think about how you love. You think about what that means and ponder that and just absorb it and just mull over the words, chew over the words. Because he first loved us would be the other part of that verse. And in a sense, that's what you're relying on, that God has loved you and therefore given you the love that has come into you to be able to love others. So we'll explore more of that in the second session, but that's the kind of thing that I mean. And you're not in that sense looking to do additional widespread study and look things up. You're just looking to mull it over in your mind. And if you've studied in the past the particular verse, then that can help you in that. But just keep the meditating fairly simple. And then that moves us on to the sixth thing, which is pray. Pray based on the verse. So you might have that verse, we love because he first loved us. And you might be in a position where you feel like you're struggling to love other people at the moment. So you might want to pray into that verse. You might want to pray, Father God, help me to experience and know your love, because I know you have first loved me. And you might want to dwell on that. You might want to pray that in a bit more detail. But then you might also want to pray, help me to love others with the love that you have first given to me. So the 6 things, I may confuse the order that I've got the first 2 in sometimes. It doesn't really matter so much the order, but if you do get them roughly in order, it can help you remember them. Hear, read, study, memorize, meditate, pray. Somebody came up with a helpful idea of remembering these 2. Memorize and meditate, well, that's M&M. Hear and read, they tend to go together, don't they? And study, you might think of that as a particularly one on its own. And then a final thing to do, once you've started to get it into your own mind and heart, pray that. Or you might want to do that at the beginning. So 6 things to do with each of these Bible verses that we're looking at. So far, we've covered the fact that we're going to be looking at 10 Bible verses. In doing that, we're going to be looking at the content and the context of each verse. I hope that as we do that, you'll get some of the details, but you'll also start to see the big picture of the whole Bible. And then as you do that, you will not only see the big picture of the whole Bible, you'll not only see some of the things that are written down in the Bible, but you will actually get to know God better. You will actually get to understand him and his ways better. You will actually receive his love more fully and understand how that's come to you. And you will also, in turn, then love God more fully and more wholeheartedly. And you will be able to love other people too more fully and more wholeheartedly, because you will have more of a strong relationship with God, which doesn't go up and down with what you're feeling on a particular day, doesn't even go up and down with the particular verse that you're thinking of or the thing that you're thinking of today, but you can go back to the big picture, some key verses in the Bible, and you can become anchored in those verses. So I hope this has whet your appetite. I hope that you take hold of the verses and these 6 ways of exploring the verses. And in another video that I'm going to make, I'll explore one of the tools, which is a tool that you can find online. If you're looking at this, I'm presuming you've got access to online. And the particular tool that we'll look at is a really helpful online tool called Bible Gateway. So you could have a look at the video on Bible Gateway if you're not familiar with that. Bless you, and may your relationship with God grow stronger and stronger as you appreciate him and his word more and more.